get things started. So good morning and welcome to everybody to our 2021 open morning. This is the 5th open event that we've held, the second virtually. We felt it best to organise this year's event in a virtual manner so that we knew what we were planning for, rather than being at the behest of legislation changes or lockdowns or any restrictions that the school may place on what's going on. So we found that it worked really well last year virtually, and I'm sure today will be the same. So my name's James Tucker. I'm the training partner, amongst other things, at Scrutton and welcome to today's event. So today, hopefully, gives you lots of information about what you can expect from a career in accountancy and from a role working for us at Scrutton and also what you can expect from the training and exam process that you go through in order to become a qualified accountant. Today also marks the opening of our application process for next year's intake of AAT apprenticeships, so the school leaver programme. So you'll find all the details on how to apply for those roles in both our Ipswich and Colchester offices on our website. Hopefully there's going to be lots of stimulating information coming across to you today, and it'll be really good. I'm sure you will have questions and things that you want more information on. So if you do have a question, please either put your hand up when it occurs to you, and we'll be monitoring those and unmuting you so that you can ask your question. Or if you'd rather, just post your question within the chat function on Zoom. And again, we'll be monitoring that and feeding those questions into the speakers. So firstly, just to tell you a little bit about us at Scrutton Bland. That was seamless. Onto the next slide. Well done. As hopefully you know, having applied for our open day today, we are a firm of accountants and insurance brokers based mainly in Ipswich and Colchester, but also with offices in Diss and Cambridge. So there's some parts about our firm which are what you'd expect to see for an accountancy practice that most firms would have, and others that are either unique or very unusual. So just running through the broad services that we offer in the different departments in which you will find opportunities. Firstly, there's audit, which is basically checking the accounts of large companies are in accordance with all the accounting rules and regulations, and they're not overstating things or presenting information to the public which is inaccurate or misleading. As I say, that's dealing with large companies, normally with a turnover of more than £10 million. Business advisory and cloud accounting, they're two different things, but kind of work hand in hand. So that's the department that I, amongst others, run. So business advisory is looking at the tier down from those that are within the audit department, where we're doing the kind of things that you'd expect an accountant to do in terms of preparing accounts, preparing tax returns and those kind of things. But more interestingly, we do a lot of work to help our clients run and grow their businesses, because they tend not to have in-house finance directors, as many of the audit clients will have. And within that, over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, cloud accounting has been a huge growth area within our industry. So it's basically using cloud accounting or cloud software applications to process your financial data, but it goes much wider than that. So it's not just about recording, the transactions that go through your bank and things like that. There's a huge amount of different pieces of software which will manage your stock for you, manage your staff, manage your assets, manage your expense process, anything that you can think of. There's a different cloud-based application. So I think now around 500 of our clients within business advisory are on some form of cloud accounting package, and that's growing all of the time. Corporate finance is an area which not all firms deal in. So that's basically the buying and selling of businesses. So Luke Morris, who heads up that department for us, gets heavily involved in both our own clients, where they're looking to grow by acquiring competitors, or perhaps getting to the end of their working life and looking to sell on their businesses, and also as standalone exercises to market businesses to the wider marketplace and try and achieve the best price possible for clients. Tax is another area where you'd expect us to be heavily involved. Basically, that's split into two different sides. There's a compliance side, which again is the area that you'd probably expect, where we're dealing with preparation of personal tax returns, income tax returns, corporation tax returns, etc. But then there's at least as significant a side advising clients on how to manage their affairs in the most tax efficient way. So they will work alongside clients of our other departments, audit and business advisory, to structure things in such a way as to minimise their tax exposure, whether that's inheritance tax, capital gains tax, income tax, corporation tax, or all of the above. Insurance is the next icon on the slide. That's probably, I think, unique for an accountancy group to have an insurance broking arm within it nationally. It's a historical quirk of a merger that happened right back in the early 90s, but works well for us because a lot of the clients that need business insurance also need our other services and vice versa. So by having two different pools of clients to which we're selling different things, then obviously we've got much more opportunities for growth, but the insurance side is a strong and growing part of the group. What's not on this slide, because we've recently sold the business, is our financial planning business, where they are involved in advising people on their pensions and investments. So that's no longer part of the Scrutton group, but we are still working incredibly closely with the new owners of that business. Indeed, the people that previously worked for us are still sitting within the same seats within our offices. So to the outside world, very little has changed there. Internal audit is another area where very few regional firms get involved. It's normally the preserve of national firms, but our internal audit teams are doing similar things to our external audit teams, as I mentioned a moment ago, but they're going into normally educational institutions or government institutions to check everything that they're doing in terms of processing money and transactions is in accordance with the rules which they need to operate within. There's no risk that somebody could run off with lots of money. So it's very similar to audit, but different, and as I say, quite unique to a regional firm. And the last area there is SB Digital. So that's kind of an extension of the cloud accounting area I was mentioning earlier. So our cloud accounting offering started 5 years ago, where we were one of the first firms locally to start promoting cloud accounting applications and advising clients on their implementation. And 3 years ago, we decided that in order to remain at the front of the marketplace on that, what we needed to do was to extend our services so as to help people to look at their existing systems, advise them on how those might be improved by the implementation of cloud-based packages, including all of the applications that I mentioned earlier. So there's what's called an ecosystem, normally with a piece of software called Xero at the center, but they'll have 5 or 6 different applications talking to Xero, managing whatever part of the business is relevant to their particular industry. So Ryan and his team will go into those businesses, look at what's already there, advise on what could be achieved by implementing something different. And once that's been agreed, physically implement and do the transition from the old software to the new, train their people on how to use the new software, and provide ongoing support. So again, that's something which is a real growth area, but something which we're very much ahead of the competition locally on. So that's us. Just to tell you what you can expect from today, you'll be pleased to hear my section is almost over, at which point I'll be handing over to Caroline, our HR director, to tell you more about the firm and what you can expect for us. Then we're on to Lizzie, who's also within our HR department and is waving nicely, to tell you a little bit more and to talk about the training support that we offer, which will lead neatly on to Bianca from First Intuition. So First Intuition are the college who we send all of our trainees across the firm to. They're a private accountancy training college, dealing with all of the different qualifications which you'll hear about from Bianca. So thank you for coming along, Bianca. And finally, we thought it'd be useful for you to not just take our word for it, but to hear from 4 of our people that are at various stages of their career, one of which relatively recently joined us and is going through AAT as we speak. And as I say, going all the way through to those that have qualified and are making their careers with the firm. So they'll be telling you about their experiences. And as I say, if you have any questions for them or indeed any of the other speakers, then either put your hand up or post something in the chat and we'll do our best to answer it for you. What's not on that slide is that there is the opportunity to physically come into the office at 4 o'clock this afternoon, where we've got a drop-in session. So you're more than welcome to come in and meet us face to face and see the whites of our eyes, have a look around the office if you want to, and generally get a better feel for what's going on. So you'd be more than welcome, and that's at 4 o'clock in both our Ipswich and Colchester offices. Last couple of slides from me. Firstly, a bit of a misconception which I often come across. So as I say, I'm a training partner for the firm, and we run this process which culminates in interviews for our positions over the course of the next couple of months. And hopefully what we will illustrate to you today is that accountancy is not all about numbers. It's very much about people. So often, and this is a bit of a tip for you, if you are going to put yourself forward for application and interview in due course, one of the first questions I tend to ask people when we're interviewing is, what makes you think you'd like to be an accountant? What brings you to our door? And a lot of people will talk about maths and how they've always been interested in maths and how they've got a really good GCSE in maths, doing well in their A level, which is great. And obviously you do need to have a level of comfort and ability with numbers, but realistically none of the work that we do across any of the departments which I just spoke about involves any complicated algebra or formulas or any kind of detailed maths knowledge. It's much more about understanding what those numbers are telling you, being able to interpret it, and most importantly being able to explain to our clients who may not be necessarily as comfortable with numbers as we are. And so in order to do that, what you need to do is to build relationships with clients and colleagues and bankers and solicitors. And so really, as I say, you do need to have a basic understanding and comfort with numbers. But what we're really looking for is your ability to get on with people, build relationships and be part of our team within the firm. And some of what I was talking about earlier in terms of the cloud accounting piece really accentuates that even more, such that many years ago when I was starting my career in accountancy, the basic thing that was given to a junior trainee was a box of records which you ploughed through for 2 weeks in order to try and put a set of accounts together. That doesn't really happen anymore. The software is doing the vast majority of that for you. And so really the nuts and bolts side of accountancy is becoming more computerized, which only means that in order for our business to continue to grow and thrive, we need to be using those numbers to advise people. Which again comes back to our people being our most important asset. So moving on, really that's what today is all about. We're opening up our shop window to show you what we're all about, and to try and get as many people interested in our roles for next year as possible. Our trainee program really is the lifeblood of the firm. we've spent a lot of time and money investing in it over the course of the last few years and trying to hone this open day process so as to really attract the best people across North Essex and Suffolk, because it is a proven track record, as some of the people that you'll be hearing from later will demonstrate. The people that we bring in at 18 to start their AAT studies will spend the next few years doing those studies and passing their exams and becoming more and more useful and important members of the team over that period of time. And then there's a wealth of opportunities for those people to develop their careers within the firm and move up the career ladder. And we've got a very good track record of making those opportunities available to people such that they can stay with us right from the beginning all the way through to the end of their career, as I say, some of those more senior people will illustrate when they're talking to you later. And finally, just to look at the career path. So I've spoken about all of the different areas within our firm. There's a whole different set of roles on the other side of the fence in what we call industry, so where you're actually working for a company being their accountant. I think the key thing to say is that whilst we the people that we bring in, we hope that they stay with us and build their careers with us and become the managers, directors and partners of the future. That's clearly not going to be the case for everyone, but the key thing about an accountancy qualification is that it does unlock a huge amount of doors for you in the future, whether that's moving sideways from business advisory to tax or into audit, or whether it's looking at a career in industry. The investment of time that you make in going through your exams and becoming a qualified accountant is never wasted, and it's an internationally recognised high-level qualification. So I hope today sparks your interest even further in that, and indeed in our firm. As I say, any questions, please do ask them as we're going along. And in the meantime, I'll hand over to Caroline.
Thanks, James. Hi, my name is Caroline Bixby. I'm the HR director here at Scrutton. And I'm part of a team that actually supports and work really closely with the accountancy side, tax side, and our colleagues. So I'm part of a team that's actually got central admin, HR, finance, IT, and marketing. And our role is to support the accountancy side to do the best they possibly can. I also need to tell you that I actually did do the aptitude assessment. So if as part of the process, and Lizzie will explain a little bit more about that later, is that we ask you to do an aptitude assessment. I've done it. I'm a non-accountancy person. So James knows that I'm not great with numbers. If I try to do an A-level in maths, I would fail miserably. Is that right, James?
That is right, yes.
See, honesty is everything. I admit it. But I hope I got a bit of common sense. So if I manage to get 80%, then I feel okay. A bit about me. I've been here for just over 2 years, and it's been, we're on a journey. I didn't know much about Scrutton when I first came, but just to give you a bit of context, there's about 190 people in the firm as it currently stands. We're based in Ipswich, Colchester, and we have a smaller office in Diss. We also have a satellite office in Cambridge as well. So our clients are regional, so we work across the whole of the region. We've got a good reputation, I believe. Obviously, my colleagues can probably say yes or no. I mean, Ben's from another organisation quite recently, so he'll tell you his experience and why he's here later. But obviously, ask him questions, ask anyone any questions. And we work in a partnership. The partnership consists of a number of partners who own the business. So in a partnership, you don't have one boss as such, you have 10 bosses who are all partners who actually own an equal share of that business. So as a collective, you have those people coming together and you have their collective support, but also their collective ideas coming together. And they're very good at actually coming to that whole end result and actually supporting each other in that respect. So it's quite an interesting environment to work in, a bit different from what I've been used to. And some of those partners actually work their way up. So coming in like you are, coming in as an apprentice. And actually, you've got people like Nick Banks, who came in as an apprentice, didn't do university, came straight in after A-levels, and also Sharon Gravener, who's just about to retire after almost 40 years with the firm. So she came as a trainee, she's worked her way up. So it's very possible for you to do anything you want to. This is about you. So it's small enough to be noticed. So you will be noticed. Every single person in the firm is known by everyone else. It's a small enough to be noticed sort of environment to be in. But it's big enough to be able to carve out a career. And this is what we're working on at the moment. So I enjoy working for Scrutton Bland because actually it's fun. I'm not gonna lie, but it's fun. So actually fun for us means enjoying what we do, being recognised for what we do. We recently had an engagement survey where we had 98% of our people actually participated, which is amazing. You're thinking all those people actually want to tell us what they think. And actually we're doing some sessions with our people about, okay, so where are the things actually you think you're proud of? And what about the things that actually you think we need to change? So we're getting people into groups and actually asking them so what do we need to do? How do we need to do that? And how do you put that into place? We've got the partners involved as well. The partners aren't involved in the actual sessions, but they were part of those groups to make things happen. So again, it's that whole progress and actually where we want to go with it. What does the future look like? I really have a vision, and the partners share this vision of it being a learning organisation. So what does that actually mean? So that's a bit fluffy, as I get told sometimes, a bit fluffy. Okay, instead of just training you, we want you to learn all the way through your career. So James is still learning, I'm still learning, Ben's still learning, all of us are still learning, and actually to really push ourselves to actually develop ourselves. It's our responsibility to be able to do that. So we can give you the tools, we can give you the time, we can give you the process to do it, but ultimately it's down to you, and you need to want it. So we're really looking for hungry people who really want to make a difference in their future, who want to come and join us because actually they're like-minded with us. So what we want to do though is actually have lots of different people from different backgrounds, because what we want to do is actually have that diversity of people to be able to say, well, actually our clients are quite diverse, then actually we need to reflect that diversity as well. So we actually really welcome people from a little bit of a different background. I've never worked in accountancy before before this last couple of years, but I really enjoy it. It's a really great environment for me, even though I don't do numbers. We've invested a lot of time and effort into the future in terms of actually developing online learning. So when you come on board, you'll have a cohort of people who will just like you. They'll be working in different departments, but you'll come together for some of your training. You'll come together and actually have different sessions together. And we have an online area where you can actually chat to each other, share ideas, etc. And then we have career paths. We're putting career paths in, and actually making sure that you can map out where you want to go. It doesn't restrict you, but actually you can see where your future goes. This is all very new, so it's a very exciting part of our future at the moment, and actually we're just about literally to launch it. So some of the guys might not be able to experience it just yet, who are on the call, but actually they will do, and in 6 months' time and 12 months' time, I'm really interested to see what their feedback is to say, right, is it working for you? How do we make it, amend it, etc. Because actually what we want to do is make sure that you feel that you are contributing to the success of the actual business. You understand what that means, and you understand what the expectations are of you, but also you know what to expect from the organisation as well. And you enjoy what you do. You come in, day out. That's kind of my vision. And actually that's a kind of little bit about why we're a bit different, I think, from other organisations. Again, the guys will be able to tell you who's had other experiences of other organisation about if we are different or not, and actually the thought process. And it is part of a journey, and we do hope that some of you will come on that journey with us. But be prepared for lots of hard work, lots of fun, but actually and lots of studying as well. So that's me. Sorry, the slides didn't keep up with me. I'll just pass you on to Lizzie, who's one of my team, and she'll be able to tell you the next process as such. What does that process look like?
Thanks, Caroline. Hi, everyone. My name is Lizzie. I'm part of the HR team, as Caroline said. I'm rather new, so as Caroline said, we are all still learning. I've actually been working with Georgie, who's part of our HR team, to help support all of the students throughout the firm by working closely with them, their managers, and also the awarding bodies and training providers. So you've already heard from Caroline and James about what it's like here at Scrutton Bland, and hopefully this can help you see that we're truly dedicated to growing our own talent and developing people for the future. So my role today is to talk you through the application process and what this might look like. So number one is coming to the virtual open day. So thank you all for coming this morning. The next bit is applying by uploading your CV. We also like you to add a covering letter to your application so we can get a feel for who you are and why you'd like to join. Following the application review, we'll be inviting successful candidates to the interview stage. As Caroline said earlier, this includes an aptitude test. Following that, the first part of the interview is the aptitude test, which is done virtually through the online portal and lasts up to an hour and a half. Following this, we will invite you to one-to-one with someone from our leadership team who will talk to you more about specific apprenticeship roles and also ask you some questions. If you don't mind changing that slide, Chloe, thank you. So as you can see on this lovely slide that Chloe's put together today, we have apprenticeship roles in our business advisory and audit departments throughout both our Colchester and Ipswich offices. There's more detail around these roles on our website. As Chloe's included here, you can see what our website looks like in case you haven't seen it before. We are aiming for all of these interviews to take place at the start of December. However, you'll have some limited dates in January too. I just want to say that during the interviews, just remember to be yourself. We really want to see who you are as a person, and we don't expect you to have loads of experience or for you to come prepared with lots of accountancy jargon. We really want to see you and to see you showcase why you would make a great addition to the team. I know, as Caroline said earlier, she's not so great with numbers. Me, I've never worked in an accountancy firm or anything like this before. So we really want to see you as a person and how you would fit in. So if you're thinking of applying, please do so as soon as possible. And we really look forward to seeing your applications. And if you're hoping to come along this afternoon, we'd really like to see you there too. And we can answer any questions in person, but please feel free to put them in the chat as well. I'm just going to pass you over to Bianca from First Intuition, and she can tell you a bit more about what she does.
Thanks, Lizzie. Hi, everyone. My name is Bianca and I'm a client liaison manager here at First Intuition. I've worked here for just under 2 years and I work really closely with Tim Howes, who's the client director. Just to give you a bit of background about First Intuition, we've been training people to be accountants across East Anglia for just over 10 years now. We've been working with Scrutton Bland for about 2 years. And I'd say it's not a supplier-customer relationship, it's definitely more of a partnership. We work very, very closely with James, Caroline, Lizzie and Georgie. We have regular calls with them where we talk to about the accounting bodies, but also the students. We know them all by name. I can tell you what qualification the students are doing, how they're getting on and things like that. We like to keep them on track. And so with the apprenticeship side, you get a dedicated skills coach that you work really closely with. You have 3-month progress reviews with. They'll talk you through how you're progressing in your studies, make sure that you've got everything that you need, help you keep on track with your timesheets and your development tasks and things like that. We offer training for the ICAW and AAT and also ACCA, and we do offer actually CIMA as well. We've got offices in Norwich, Ipswich, Peterborough, Cambridge and Chelmsford. So we're very widely spread, so you've got a lot of choice there depending on your home location as to where you come to do your studies. In Ipswich, we are currently based out of the IP City, which some of you may know locally. And in Norwich, we are currently moving. So this time in about 2 weeks, we will actually be in our brand new office, which is very exciting. And it's in the city centre. So if you were ACCA training, you would be up in Norwich, but ICAW and AAT would be able to do out of Ipswich. What I'll do is just talk you through the AAT in a bit more detail, because that is actually changing syllabus from the 1st of February. It's going to be called Quals 22. So this may look slightly differently actually when you get onto your training, but this just talks you through roughly the areas that are covered across the levels. So at level 2, you have Introduction to Bookkeeping, which covers your sort of key terminology and knowledge, things like double entry, and I'm saying it very briefly because I too have no knowledge of accountancy. You then go on to your Principles of Bookkeeping Controls, your Principles of Costing, and the Business Environment, which is a new unit that they're adding for the Quals 22, and it's kind of to help people working in that business environment, the office, how it all works and things, to give you that key skills that actually, due to the pandemic, some people haven't had that experience, or they haven't had that part-time job, they haven't been able to get those key skills. So that's a really good thing going forward. On to level 3. It starts off with your final accounting, preparing financial statements and looking at the more advanced bookkeeping, so just a little bit of a step up from your level 2. It'll then look at your management accounting techniques. Also then go into your tax processes, so things like VAT, a bit of personal and business tax, but that covers in more detail at level 4. And then also business awareness, which is a really, really good unit to look at. And then go on to level 4. You have your drafting and interpreting financial statement. So again, just a step up from the level 3. Your applied management accounting, which is more detailed than what the level 3 is, your internal accounting systems and controls, and then also you have some optional units, which is business tax, personal tax, credit management, external auditing, and cash and treasury management. The 3 highlighted in green are the most popular ones, and doing those 3 will give you maximum exemptions for when you go on to your level 7. The approach that Scott and Bland take is normally a blended level 3/4 approach. So you would go on to an apprenticeship for level 3/4 to cover some of those units, but going forward it may include some of the level 2, but it's things to be it's in the pipeline at the moment because it's all a new qualification, but that kind of just gives you a bit of a brief overview. Yeah, that's me and First Intuition, and I'm going to hand over to Curtis.
Thank you, Bianca. So my name's Curtis. I joined Scrutton Bland about 4 years ago. I came out of Northgate sixth form in Ipswich. I took up A levels and took on an accountancy AS level, which sort of gave me a bit of a foundation. But when I joined Scrutton Bland, they put me through my AAT level 3 and 4, as Bianca just discussed. Supported me through that. So I had like study days where I'd have paid time off to go into a centre and study, which would sometimes be 1 day a week or like a block week at a time. So I'd done that for levels 3 and 4 of AAT. And in September last year, I started the ICAEW qualification. I decided that, as well as accountancy, I wanted to explore tax a bit more. So I spoke to James and Georgie in HR, and I have started the ACA and CTA joint pathway. So I'm doing a bit of accountancy qualifications and tax. So more exams and more fun. And yeah, so James and everyone in HR and everyone's been incredibly supportive of me. I know that if I have any questions on anything apprenticeship related or study related, I can go and ask someone else who's studying or someone in HR. So when I started, I joined as part of a cohort, like Caroline said, and there's a sort of a group of us that have gone all throughout the qualifications. So all throughout level 3 and 4 of AAT, there was a group of 5 of us. So having that environment to sort of speak to other students that we all work with, although we work in different departments, we can all sort of bounce off each other and interact. And it's like you say, it's part of the people process of being here and having similar people that we can work with and talk to with any questions. But yeah, I've really enjoyed my time here, and I look forward to spending many more years here. I believe Dan is next to speak, so I'll pass you over to Dan.
Cheers, Curtis. I started at Scrutton Bland only a year ago. So before that, I did 2 work experience placements, which is what led to me starting Scrutton Bland. I did my level 3 AAT at 6th form while I was there. So I went in straight away at level 4, and I've been studying that, which has been a little bit different because that's all been online. So Scrutton Bland and First Intuition have been really helpful because it has been a bit strange doing all the courses over Zoom, but I got used to that because I was also working from home. So for the first month, I was in the office, and then when lockdown hit, we all started working from home, which was really different because it's handy to have someone sat next to you when you're training, and then when that's all over Teams and Skype, it is difficult. But yeah, Scrutton Bland have been really helpful, and like Curtis said, it's nice that everyone is at a level where they've either done the exams or doing them alongside you, so you can talk to people and they all understand that, you know, taking 10 minutes out for a bit of help is always fine, and you can chat to anyone. I've really enjoyed my time at Scrutton Bland so far. Like I said, I've only been doing it for a year, but they've been really, really helpful, and it's nice to be back in the office now to get that help, you know, face to face. Yeah, that's me really. It's a shorter one, but I've really enjoyed my time at Scrutton Bland. I think I'm passing over to Ben.
Yes, thanks, Dan. So hi, I'm Ben Chaplin. I am a manager in the audit team based in Colchester. As Caroline mentioned, I recently joined back in July. So I studied with another firm. About 15 years ago, I was sat where you are looking for a job. I was fortunate that I got one and studied for my AAT qualification first. I then went on to do my ACA qualification with the ICAW. Very hard work, very challenging, but so rewarding. It's a great feeling when you pass those exams and you're finally qualified. One of the great things about the route of studying whilst you're working is that you get that practical experience. You get to apply that knowledge in the workplace. You get people around you that support you. And now I'm a manager. That's part of my role, to help support all of the team and the trainees, to help them qualify, to make sure they get that right experience and to coach them through that journey. I'm really passionate about people development, helping people get where they want to go. One of the reasons I joined Scrutton Bland is because they share that same passion. It's really important that you guys are all the future. We need to bring you through and make you qualify. And one of the key things is to just be flexible with play to people's strengths, work out where people are best, and use that, and make sure we value everyone's input, whatever that might be, because everyone has their own skills. So we just really want to work with that, and help everyone get where they want to get to. So that's me really. So I'm going to hand over to Jenny now.
Hello, my name's Jenny. I have been here for 10 years. So I've been working for Scrutton Bland since 2011. I, like Dan, did some work experience here. So I did my work experience in about 2009, I think, and 2010, so quite a while ago. And I came straight from school. And I did my work experience in the business advisory team, and I have come into that team as well. So it's actually the same team as Dan, Curtis and James. So I work with all 3 of them, and also Curtis actually works very closely with me, and I work very closely for James. So James is one of my main partners that I report to. As I said, I came straight from school, so I did AAT, and then I did actually ACCA, so slightly different from Ben and Curtis. So it's slightly different qualification, very similar setup, equally as useful, I would say, very similar, but the same sort of exams, same sort of day release from college, and it's all, as Curtis said, all paid for by Scruttons. You have to pay a penny, and you don't have to take holiday for it unless you really want to. if you want extra study, if you feel like you need a bit more support. I qualified in 2017, so it took me just over 5 years to qualify, fully qualify, and I was promoted in 2019 to assistant manager. So pretty quickly after I qualified, I got a client portfolio. My client portfolio is now worth, so what are we on? 2 years I've been an assistant manager, and it's now grown to be about 300,000. So my portfolio is worth 300,000. So that's what I bill out. So it's quite a reasonable size. And what that means is that I have to look after a variation of clients. So in the business advisory team, we sort of, our role is so different day to day, it's never the same. We could either be looking after limited companies, so businesses, or we could be looking after sole traders. I have about 70 companies that I look after with Curtis, and I have about 140 personal tax returns. So they are totally different. Nothing to do with those is the same. So personal tax is where we sort of maybe speak to an individual once a year, asking them what income they've had from all different income streams, putting it all together, putting it on a tax return, and then telling them how much tax they have to pay. Whereas accounts is looking at a specific business and formulating it all, pulling all the accounting standards together, applying it to their figures, and calculating their profits, how much like whether it's a limited company or a sole trader, how much money that business has earned that year, and calculating the tax due if applicable on that. And personally, I find that incredibly rewarding, because a lot of our clients, well, some of our clients, are petrified of numbers, hate the thought, have no idea what they're doing, love what they do, but don't understand figures. So I find it really rewarding, because I love figures and I love seeing different people's businesses and being able to help them understand how they've got on, what allowances are, like tax allowances are out there that we can reduce their tax by, that they wouldn't necessarily know about, because that's what we've done all our studying for, and helping them improve their business through their finances. So it is incredibly rewarding, whether that individual has no idea about finance or whether they're really clued up. It's really rewarding being able to help them. We advise clients however frequently they want. So some clients come to us once a year, and we do their finances, we do their accounts or their tax return once a year, and that's that. Other clients come to us once a week. It totally depends on how much support they want from us. So some of our clients sort of look at us as a finance director sort of role if they don't have that sort of position in their firm. So they ask us all sorts of weird and wonderful questions, as James will adhere to, not adhere to, support. So you get all sorts of different people in all sorts of walks from life. As I said, we sort of do varying different things. We do personal tax returns, we do VAT returns, if you guys have heard of VAT. We do management accounts, we do a little bit of forecasting sometimes, we speak to banks, like, you know, no day is the same, which is what I love about it, because it's so varied. It can be tricky, but it's a challenge, because you know you can't always follow what was done last year, because it could be something totally new, but with that support that we've got around us and that really great network of people, there's always somebody to ask, and there's always ideas that you can bounce off in your team, which is great. Sorry, I will blab on. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about me now and Scrutton Bland. So the reason that I love Scrutton Bland is because there are so many opportunities there, and the partners and the HR team speak to you directly, and they help you develop opportunities that you want, and they listen to you. So for me, for example, I love going out, speaking to people, seeing if we can win any new clients. I love going out to careers fairs and seeing potential new students and trainees, and they've really heard that they really support me with that and give me opportunities to do that. And Curtis is the same, he loves doing that. So we try and encourage people and play to their strengths as opposed to just trying to fit you into a accountant role and what their like stereotype is of that, which is what I love. There's also so many different sectors out there that we do accounts for, and one of the great things about Scrutton Bland is we have sector specialisms within the departments. So I, for example, love agriculture and I love property development because I find them so fascinating as industries. And Scrutton Bland have allowed me to develop my portfolio focusing on those areas. And there's those sort of opportunities there. Sorry, I was just reading Caroline's comment. There's opportunities there for you if you find a sector that you are specifically passionate about. There's opportunities and Scrutton Bland will work with you to try and develop those, which is great. As Curtis, Dan and everybody said, we've got a great team, very vibrant. We did go out a lot more before COVID. We tried to go to the pub once a week for lunch in our team specifically. We have great Christmas parties, or used to, which unfortunately Dan hasn't experienced but will do. Because we're quite a youngish team, we do try to go like out in town, and because there's quite a few people of a similar age, it's quite nice because you have that similar interests like Curtis said, so it's good. As James has said, I don't think it can be reiterated enough, it is not all about numbers. A lot of it is about communication and interpreting those figures. You just need to be comfortable with numbers really, and be able to interpret them and explain them to people. I used to love algebra, but I have never done algebra since I've worked at Scrutton Bland. It's all like percentages, multiplication, as I said, sort of understanding what you're trying to achieve and interpreting that to the figures. At the moment, as James sort of said, it's a very exciting space. There are amazing developments going on in the software space, which is making our job a lot easier. But it's also making it there's also a lot of opportunities of coming out of it because it's becoming more of an advisory space within our team. So gone are the days where you get a bag of records, like James said at the beginning, and you get like bank statements and petrol receipts and they just dump it on the desk and you have to create the accounts of that doesn't really happen anymore because of the legislation that's being brought out by HMRC. So it's very software orientated now, which is great because it gives us different opportunities to just banging out the accounts and doing compliance work. So it's a great time to join because it's definitely not boring anymore, because we can't be boring because the software does it all. So it is a great time to be here, and the great thing about Scrutton Bland is it is at the forefront of that. We are very proactive in that space locally. So it's a great time to join really. I think that is it from me. You'll be pleased to hear, but if anyone has any questions, obviously just shout.
Thanks, Jenny, and everyone for your contributions. I hope everybody's found that interesting. There's obviously an awful lot to take in over the course of just under an hour there. And as Jenny says, now is your last chance to raise any questions, either by putting your hand up or putting something in the chat box for this morning's session. But as I mentioned earlier, you're more than welcome to come along to either of the offices in Ipswich or Colchester at 4 o'clock this afternoon rather, where you can meet us and perhaps ask some of those questions that you've got burning away and find out more about it. So there are now some questions coming in. How many days a week will we be working? So it's 5 days a week, but as we've mentioned, study is within that time. So the days that you spend with First Intuition, whether that's day release, block release, or however it works with a particular course that you're working, then you'll be that will be within those 5 days. So for example, if you're at first intuition, one day you'll be working the other 4. Do you want to just explain a little bit about the flexible working arrangement, Caroline?
Yeah, not a problem. What we work in a hybrid way. Obviously, the last 18 months has been different. And so what we've done is actually working with people. We went and sent out a questionnaire to everybody in probably about April and asked them what they wanted to do in terms of working in the office, coming back to see people, or working at home, and working at clients. It came back a resounding, I think it was an overarching to like 3/4 of the people wanted to come into the office at least 3 days a week. So what we said is that hybrid working of working both at home but also in the office and at clients' premises is down to the departments. So departments will actually say, right, what are the needs of the clients? What do the clients need? So for example, in Ben's team, for example, you might be doing audits. You might need to be on site at that client's order to do an audit for 5 days a week. So therefore, you're working on clients' premises for 5 days a week. You may not have audits every single week, and so you may work in the office or you may work at home. Likewise in James's team. So as a trainee, you'd need to actually look at your own learning and how you learn. So it's important to say, right, not just to work from home, because you're not going to learn from other people. It's that informal learning. It's that whole, oh, can you just help me with this? And, or what about this? I'm a bit stuck. So what we try and do is encourage you to come into the office if you can, as much as possible. We do say for trainees in particular that actually we have you in quite a lot more than if you were qualified, for example, because obviously at that point, you know what you're doing, you've got your own portfolio of clients. But we do offer a hybrid way of working. So it's not just in the office 5 days a week, every single week of the year.
Thank you. How much time do you spend with the clients? I think that question really depends on which of the 2 departments with roles available next year you end up in which you have a preference for. So the audit roles, you will be out on site doing work at clients' premises, meeting the clients pretty much from the word go, because that's 90% of what the audit teams do. They're out, as I say, on clients' premises, doing the audit process and checking everything is in order. So you'll be part of a team of perhaps 2, 3, 4 people on clients' premises with immediate effect. Within our department, it's slightly different. So you're working again within a team of people, but the communication with clients and the face-to-face contact tends to sit with the more senior members of the team until you've reached the point at which you've got the confidence and the attributes in order to be able to deal directly with the clients, because they will be throwing questions at you about what the tax implications of what they're doing are, or whatever it might be. I think the only thing to say is that we don't work on the basis that you must have been with the firm X amount of time, or you must have passed such and such exams in order to have face-to-face client contact. It very much depends on you as a person, as everything does within our roles, so that you're we're not interested in time served. We're interested in how good you are and where you are in your development. So that client contact will come within business advisory as soon as you're ready for it. Next question is, how do you apply? And Elizabeth has just posted within the chat function link to the website, which is the application area. So that will take you directly to all of the links that you need to make your application. The questions are coming in thick and fast. So what should you put in the application email? So obviously your CV is factually based. It tells us, what GCSEs you've got, what A levels you're predicted to get, what work experience you've had, albeit that might be a little bit patchy given the last 18 months and the what's happened to retail and hospitality sector. but it's very much facts about what you've done, what you've achieved, and those kind of things, whereas the supporting letter stroke email, we're much more interested in you as a person, why you think that you'd like to become an accountant, why you are attracted to us as a firm as opposed to somebody else, what you enjoy doing in your spare time, why you think that you're what personal attributes and skill sets that you have that you think will make you suited to a role. So it's much more about the intangible side of you as a person and what makes you suitable. So really there's no I can't give you a checklist of what should be in there, but we're interested. I say we're not about just shipping in a load of people just to fill some chairs. We're about working with individuals to understand who they are and make sure that they're a good fit with us, and creating roles for them that play to their strengths. Can I just check the financial planning apprenticeships are no longer offered? So I don't know if you know the answer to that, Caroline. The financial planning part of our business is no longer part of our group.
James, I've just answered, I think it's Sophie. So what I said is we're more than happy, because what we do work is very closely with our ex-colleagues in financial planning. So if you do want to make an application for apprenticeship in financial planning, what we can do is liaise with them for you and with you. We would be taking it forward because it's not our sort of part of our process. But what we can do is make those introductions for you if that's what you're wanting to do.
Yep. Next question, on your website you mentioned graduate schemes as well as school leavers. Is the difference between the two, and is the application the same? I think we are all about getting the best people into our organisation, whatever their background. So it's fair to say that the vast majority of the trainees that we take on are A-level leavers. But that's not to exclude anyone else. So graduates form an important part of that, as do more mature people that might be career changing or returning to work after children, etc. So there's no real difference to no one route is preferred to another. The graduate side of things, I think one of the things that we always say is that you don't obtain a advantage in the accountancy profession by taking the graduate route. If you join as a school leaver and come in and do AAT followed by either ACCA or ACA, then you end up in exactly the same point and with exactly the same qualification as you would do if you joined as a graduate. One of the downsides, I suppose, to the graduate route, which might not appear as a downside on the face of it, is that if you're what's called a relevant graduate, so you've done accountancy and finance or something relevant to accountancy in your degree, it will exempt you from all of AAT and quite a lot of the high level qualifications. But obviously you've spent 3 years and incurred quite a lot of money in getting to that point. The issue that we sometimes have as an employer with that is that you're then qualified as an accountant within a very short period of time, but what you haven't done is to gain the practical experience that somebody who's been with us 4 or 5 years and has been all the way through AAT and ACA or CCA has got. So in terms of your being a well-rounded qualified accountant that is ready to progress up the career ladder, as some of our people earlier illustrated, then you're not quite there, which is why we tend to, and the other thing to say is that most of those relevant degrees, even though it will exempt you from AAT, you won't actually have learned any of what's within the AAT syllabus, and one of the reasons why we put everybody through AAT is because it gives you a really good grounding knowledge in all of the areas that Bianca talked about earlier, which is then a building block for you to develop and go on to be able to advise clients well in terms of tax or whatever it might be. So I'm never going to sit here and say don't go to university or to try and influence anybody's thought process in that way. But certainly I can say hand on heart that joining us at the A-level stage doesn't put you at any kind of disadvantage to somebody joining us as a graduate. In fact, I think the training and practical development you receive over what's effectively the same period of time gives you a better end result, and obviously there's no debt involved either. So sorry, that was a rather long-winded answer to his question.
The only other thing I'd say to that, James, is it is very much we tailor the graduate experience with the individual. So the individual, if they come through, and it depending on their experience, their work placement experience, what they've actually done in the past. So what we try and do, graduates, we do encourage graduates, but obviously A-level is our route that we tend to do. But we do have some graduates come through, and it tends to be tailored. And I know that at the moment we are potentially looking at a graduate in corporate services. So that may be something that we have as one opportunity.
Right, our next one I'm going to throw out to Ben, Dan, Curtis and Jenny. Well, as an accountant, what's the toughest accounting challenge you could face? Any volunteers?
I'll kick it off if you like. I would say my toughest challenge is when a client wants to put stuff through that you know they shouldn't. Those conversations can be really tricky. You have to be very mature in your approach, and you have to stand your ground, which can be difficult, and that is definitely the toughest challenge that I've had come to face. But you just got to make sure you explain the reasoning behind why you can't let stuff go through. So that's my toughest challenge. And the studying, obviously, it's quite hard.
Yeah, I guess I could think of an example. I've worked on a set of accounts before where companies had various different loans relating to other companies, and sort of at an early stage of not having studied that, to sort of see the big picture of this company is linked to this company and it's owned by a parent company, and sort of connecting that all together was quite a nice, quite an interesting challenge and quite a nice learning curve, and sort of seeing in the real world how companies interact with each other and they actually have commercial business between them. So that was definitely an interesting challenge.
Yeah, and I think as we've tried to illustrate today, so whilst the kind of direct provision of learning is done within work time, as you move through the qualifications and they get more challenging, then the amount of time that you need to spend in your own time in evenings and weekends consolidating that knowledge and getting ready for your exams becomes greater and greater. So it's not something to be taken lightly, and quite often if you spent a long hard day in the office or working from home, the last thing you want to be doing is studying something in the evening, but that's how it works. So that is a tough challenge that I think everybody that's been through the exams has faced. I understand you've got some starts next year, and heard earlier there could potentially be some earlier starts. Yeah, that situation is always changing, and normally at these events most of the people are currently doing their A-levels and taking them next year, which is why the start date for most positions will be late summer next year once everybody's been through the exams and got the results. But there normally are some people that have, for whatever reason, taken their A-levels already and having a gap year, or thinking about what they're doing, or were going to university and decided not to. So there's always opportunities for those people to start earlier As I say, it's always changing in terms of the demand that we've got for roles within the departments anyway. But as Caroline says, there are a couple of roles where people can start as soon as possible, basically. Will you be sending us a recording of the meeting, Chloe, Elizabeth?
Elizabeth's just answered that, saying we're showing recording a session shortly, so you better refer back to it as and when you'd like to. That's right.
Scroll down all the things.
I know.
Right, I think that's all of the questions. So thank you for all of those. Good to have some interactions. Sometimes a bit weird doing these things when there's people out in the ether and you wonder if they're actually there. So as I say, thank you for coming along today. I hope that's been useful, and I hope you've learned something about us and the profession and the exam process. You're very welcome to come along to the offices at 4 o'clock this afternoon to talk more about that and have a look around and chat to us in person. Obviously, the details of how to apply for our roles are within the chat function and on the website. And I think that's all from us. So thank you for coming.
If anyone needs any help with CVs or making applications, I know it's been a really difficult last 18 months. Give us a shout in the HR team, and we're more than happy, if it's for this role or other roles as well, we're more than happy to guide you through your CV writing or an application.
Great, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
See you later.
Thank you.
Thanks.